The New York Knicks have been linked to veteran center Steven Adams as trade reports are escalating, involving a proposal where the New York Knicks would trade Mitchell Robinson to land Adams, and Leon Rose would never do this trade. But we're going to break this down as the Knicks will have interest in Steven Adams. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as per usual. And also, guys, if you like the content, make sure to subscribe. 25% of viewers are subscribed right now. Also, leave a comment down below if you think the Knicks should show interest in Steven Adams, or if it depends on the price for you, or if it's just a flat-out no. But let's jump into it, guys. The New York Knicks have been linked to veteran center Steven Adams by Sports Illustrated, so let's take a look. As mentioned by Sports Illustrated, Steven Adams joins a list of centers within the Knicks trade circles. Jonas Valanciunas and Walker Kessler, among others, are also linked to New York. The Washington Wizards, Utah Jazz, Chicago Bulls, and other rebuilding teams are established sellers as the NBA trade season approaches. Now, trade season starts December 15th. So we're 6 days out from NBA trade season, and once that happens, we're going to start seeing a lot more trade rumors for every NBA team, and teams that are bad. I mean, the Wizards, they signed Valanciunas with the hopes of trading him for some sort of draft capital. That's going to happen. The Rockets don't really have space to use Steven Adams, so they're going to try to move him for some draft capital. Now, neither of these guys are going to go for first-round picks. They're just guys who teams know they can get second-round picks for, and it's worth it because you didn't really give up anything to get them. I mean, the Rockets, they acquired Steven Adams in a trade where they sent out Victor Oladipo. Like, Oladipo doesn't play basketball anymore. He's retired. And now you look at the Wizards who signed Valanciunas with the full intent of trading him. So it's going to be a win for both those teams. Nikola Vucevic is playing very well. Likely that he gets moved and the Bulls sell high. There's a lot of things that could happen, and Steven Adams is someone who I'd be shocked if the Knicks don't show some interest in. He's a veteran center. He plays well on winning teams. He knows how to win. He's a great teammate. He just gives you everything you want in a contender. Now, he's not the same player he was in Houston or on the Grizzlies, but he has been a solid player in the past, and I said Houston when I meant OKC. When he was on the Thunder, when he was on the Grizzlies, Steven Adams was a very, very good player. But now we're kind of past that moment of the Steven Adams timeline. But he still is a positive impact player when he's on the court. There's an account called Steven Adams Stats that essentially just posts Steven Adams propaganda, which we should all be a fan of because Steven Adams rocks. But he has the best on-off impact of the Rockets offense over the last 8 games. He just does everything right. He does his job correctly. He's someone who the Knicks will have interest in. Here's the thing. There's only one guy who fits to trade for him. It's just Mitchell Robinson. There's really no one else who the Knicks can go out there and trade for him. And we'll talk about that a bit more. But Adams this season, I mean, in limited minutes, he's putting up 2.5 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and that's really all there is to it. Like, he'll probably get traded somewhere where he'll have a bigger role and those numbers will go up. I don't think Steven Adams is just completely cooked at 31 years old. He did come back off a knee surgery, so it might be just getting integrated. And the Rockets have so many players on their team when it comes to role players. It's just tough to find Adams minutes, which is why they're going to try to trade him, especially on an expiring deal. It makes perfect sense to go out there and move Adams. There's just no reason to keep him, really. Now, Jonas Valanciunas is another guy who's been highlighted as a trade target for the Knicks this season, putting up 12 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and shooting 57% from the field. He also gets a block per game, but is not a good defender. As you can see, his defensive box plus minus is a negative, though he is still someone to keep an eye out on the trade market. I just don't think the Knicks will trade for him while having Karl-Anthony Towns. It doesn't really make sense to me. And then you just look at Adams and you think, okay, well, he's not an enticing player to trade for with these numbers, but as I said, the numbers will go up. And as mentioned by Sports Illustrated, Adams is in the final year of a 2-year, $25.2 million contract, making $12.6 million this season. The Knicks can match his salary and make a trade work with Mitchell Robinson or Achua, and another salary filler would likely be involved. Now, it doesn't work with Achua. There isn't salary filler to do that. And it's mentioned that the Knicks have some time before getting involved in any serious trade talks, as Robinson is expected to return sometime in January, which I just did an update on. That's still the case. And the trade deadline isn't until February 6th. However, Steven Adams, along with other centers mentioned, are certainly names to watch for the New York Knicks. Now, As I said, in order for the Knicks to trade for Steven Adams, to make the money work, you'd have to move Mitchell Robinson, which makes absolutely no sense. Leon Rose knows that makes no sense, and that won't happen. Mitch has a tradable contract. The Knicks are not going to waste it on Steven Adams. I do think the Knicks will trade Mitchell Robinson, but not till next season. I think they'll trade him when he's an expiring deal. Usually that's when the Knicks tend to trade guys, is when they're expiring. 4 other tradable contracts who are guys who could also play a role for the Knicks. Now, Mitchell Robinson becomes a free agent the same year as Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart. We know who the Knicks are going to prioritize there. It's Bridges and Hart. So Mitch becomes an odd man out right there. So unless he'd take a severe discount, the Knicks are probably not going to have Mitchell Robinson for that much longer on the team, which is a bummer because he's my favorite Knick, but I think we'll be okay. And Ariel Hukporti is going to come into his own. That's the Knicks' plan, is to wait for Hukporti to come into his own, sign him to an extension this summer so they can get him for cheap, and then watch as he balls out on a bargain contract, just like they did with Deuce McBride. So it makes no sense for the Knicks to do a trade like this. And for the Knicks to even entertain this, they're going to have some draft capital involved. So to give away a center who's very good in Mitch, given he's injury prone, so is Adams recently. So I honestly think the Knicks would have to have a first-round pick attached in this trade, or the Rockets would have to have a first-round pick attached in this trade. Now, 2025 Rockets pick that's lottery protected makes sense. They're probably not going to be in the draft lottery. They're the 3rd seed right now. They look great as a team. But it becomes this situation of, are the Rockets really going to move a first-round pick, even if it's a bad pick, just to get rid of Steven Adams? I just feel like another team, like they could just get something, even if it's just cash consideration for Steven Adams. Now, here's how the New York Knicks acquire Steven Adams. The Knicks have to go out there, and when Steven Adams gets traded, you have to hope that he gets bought out. It's likely that if a guy like Steven Adams or like a Clint Capella gets traded, now I don't know if Capella is going to get traded anymore because the Hawks are playing well, but one of them, if they get traded to a bad team, they're just going to get bought out. No team is going to want a player like that on their team because as nice as he'll probably be for like the vibes, especially Adams specifically, who's known to be an awesome teammate, they're just not going to, they're going to understand that Adams belongs on a winning team and that it's not fair to him and that both teams would prefer to, both parties would prefer to part ways so they don't have to just keep Adams on the bench when they could be playing a young player who could impact them later. So a team that's tanking, like if the Chicago Bulls acquired him for like cash considerations or something, or maybe if the Rockets wanted Valanciunas and then the Wizards got Adams back with like a 2nd-round pick attached, they'd probably just cut him. And then the Knicks become a premier market because Mitchell Robinson is not the model of good health. You're trusting that Mitch comes back and is fully healthy and usable. And even then, I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns has missed time in the past. Mitchell Robinson has missed time. There's a world where the Knicks would be interested in bringing in another big man in order to kind of hold down the fort and be in case of emergency, break glass guy who's not a young player like a Jericho Sims who's been struggling mightily, or an Ariel Hukporti who is a rookie. Now, the Knicks have 14 players on roster. They're going to waive Matt Ryan, and once they waive Matt Ryan, we are going to see the New York Knicks make some other moves. Matt Ryan, his contract becomes guaranteed on January 3rd. The Knicks are going to waive him. They're going to hopefully, for them, sign Landry Shamet. If Shamet becomes healthy, they'll still have 14 guys on roster. They'll make some sort of trade, I imagine, like trading Precious Achiuwa for someone who makes less money. So then you have whoever you traded Precious for, you get a little bit more money on the books, like $2 or $3 million. Then you have enough for another player, and you go out there and you sign that other player, and boom, because then, like, the Knicks are so close to the second apron right now where essentially they're not allowed to go into that. It's not that, like, oh, it's bad if they do. They're literally legally not allowed to because the way they did the Mikal Bridges trade at hard caps them at the second apron. So there's $600,000 away right now. You cut Matt Ryan, you have just enough money for Landry Shamet. If you trade Precious Achiuwa, let's say you trade Precious Achiuwa $6 million for a guy who makes $3 million. Then what you do is you have that $3 million to use on another player. You go out there, you use it on some free agent. Probably TJ Warren would be my best guess. That's what I imagine the New York Knicks will do when it comes to trade season. But there's going to be more trade rumors. I know you guys don't love when I make trade videos, so I try to keep them to a minimum to a degree. But also I made a ton of Julius Randle trade videos because I kept telling you guys he was going to get traded. And you guys didn't listen. You didn't listen. So I know what I'm talking about, guys. I know what I'm doing. Guys, leave a comment down below, like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Knicks.